Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are tuning in from. Today, we are diving into a conversation that matters not only to South Sudan but also to the Africa and the world at large, the future of the Republic of South Sudan. Now, some people have been asking, has South Sudan already failed or slipped into a failed state? Or is there room for redemption and recovery? To help us unpack this, I'm joined by Ambassador Tut Riek Jikany. Ambassador, welcome to the program. It's a privilege to have you with us.
Thank you, Babu. I appreciate you.
When people talk about South Sudan's stability, one of the things that they come up with talking is the revitalized peace agreement that was signed in 2018. From your perspective, how do you see the implementation going? Or do you think, are we moving forward or we just end up in the same cycle of delay?
At the moment, the 2018 peace agreement is stagnant and only 74% has been implemented. So at the moment, there's a lot of frustration from the international community because there's been a lot of extension and also only to end up with the Vice President, Dr. Riek Machar, being arrested. So at the moment, it's considered dead because the partner in peace, Dr. Riek Machar, is in prison. And many of the stakeholders have reached out to the government of South Sudan and to go back to the table and fix this. So the revitalized peace agreement would have saved South Sudan from reverting back into a civil war with the SPLA-IO and other stakeholders or other factions are outside the non-signatories and all that. So at the moment, revitalized peace agreement is stagnant and there's no uncertainty. No one knows the future of it.
So we have IGAD, we have African Union, and apart from these two, we have also the neighboring countries, Ethiopia and Kenya. It seemed like they've been quiet for some time. What do you think could be their role into pushing South Sudan's peace agreement to be implemented? What would be their role?
It all started with the government of South Sudan honoring its signature, because when this peace agreement was signed, it stated many of the root causes, and it has some framework within the articles or the provisions in the agreement that would allow South Sudan to be able to work together. Because in the previous constitution that was drafted prior to the 2013 conflicts, it gives the president power to do anything they want to do. There was no checks and balance. So the revitalized peace agreement has checks and balance, and it would have diversified the government, which President Salva Kiir is against it because he wants total dominance. The only thing he knows is total dominance from the top to the bottom, and being able to place anyone his favorite, anyone that will be able to be loyal to him without questioning his policies. So with this agreement being in a state where it is right now, where President Salva Kiir refused to implement the peace agreement, some of the stakeholders are now are outside because they're powerless, except for Uganda. If you look at most of the IGAD countries are silent. Kenya has been silent for a long time. We can't even say anything about Sudan because Sudan is in war itself. And also Ethiopia, at the moment, they're powerless. Although the peace agreement was signed in Addis Ababa, at the moment they have no power because Uganda has started dominating everything in South Sudan and throwing away the peace agreement, arresting Dr. Riek Machar. And now what we're looking at is Uganda. President Museveni is empowering Salva Kiir to proceed with what he wants, which is a total dominance. And Salva, I've said it many times, this peace agreement was not meant to be implemented. Why? Because there's 5 vice presidents, and there are personnel that he does not want in the government, especially when he has bad company around him. People that have so much hatred, that are tribalists, such as Kwalmanyang, Michael Makwelweth, and also Daniel Awudakot. These individuals have so much hatred towards their fellow brothers from other minority tribes and are not willing to be able to implement this agreement with those individuals in there. The main thing now is just total dominance, where the government can be under one president and all the stakeholders. You can have a political party, but no military personnel. Everyone must be under SSPDF, under the leadership of Salva Kiir Mayardit. So the other countries are powerless because the president himself decided to align himself with Uganda and sideline everybody else.
Thank you. On the international fora, let's talk about the image of South Sudan and its relationship. So how would you describe Juba's current bilateral relationship with superpower countries such as United States of America, Israel, and UAE? Are we building a good partnership with these countries, or these are just short-term bilateral relations or interests?
These can be categorized as short-term and also personal interests. With United States, they have tried everything they can to help South Sudan become a country it should be, but due to Salva Kiir Mayardit hatred towards its fellow brothers, and also allowing the government to have so many corruption with impunity, it occur under his watch, has really frustrated the United States, where their relationship has deteriorated. At the moment, South Sudan still has one of the countries with travel ban by the Trump administration, and also one of the bank that helped South Sudan with regulates the U.S. dollars. It's in New York. Has been blocked, and they've tried many times to come to United States and pleaded with the United States to open this bank so that they can have a flow of U.S. dollars. And the renewed sanction of the leaders is still there. So at the moment, United States cannot benefit from South Sudan beside relocating or South Sudan accepting violent criminals that need to be sent to other third world countries. And South Sudan, to plead with the United States, they have accepted the violent criminals. And that's exactly what they are. So South Sudan is a dumping ground at the moment in the eyes of the United States. When it comes to Israel, it's also fallen in the same category as a dumping ground, because Israel is not going to benefit from South Sudan because South Sudan is in a crisis, economically, military. So there's no flow of the oil no more. So other powerhouse countries cannot benefit no more because the oil is now in jeopardy due to the violence in Sudan and the violence in South Sudan. At the moment, it could only serve as a dumping ground, as the Israel recently signed agreement with them is to relocate Palestinians into South Sudan. So at the moment, the powerhouse only sees South Sudan as a dumping ground. When it comes to UAE has a different interest. First, many of the leaders do bank in UAE, so that itself helps them. When it comes to other things such as economy, at the moment, the only economy system that the UAE can benefit from is all these leaders having banking in UAE and also having businesses. They do have businesses in UAE. So those are the only thing. There's a bunch of different interests with these powerhouses.
You mentioned about the Palestinians' relocation to South Sudan. So let's dive more into that. Given the fact that if they come to South Sudan, how will the relationship between the Palestinian with the locals be, and which areas would be likely the targets of relocation?
At the moment, South Sudan government does have a target area for Palestinians to be relocated, and it's going to have to be places that are considered hostile to the government, because that will help them to drive out certain individuals in that area, and will be able to be a stable place for the South Sudan government to have relationship with the Palestinians. So one of the number one target place, I would say, are Upper Nile, and particularly Nasser. Nasser and Wulang, those areas would be a target so that they don't not have to deal with this element of the white army anymore. They can drive out the white army, and at that state, Israel will be able to help them drive out the white army because those Palestinians are coming into the country through Israel, having bilateral relations with South Sudan. That's a particular target. If another target would be in Gawar area, they do have counties that are labor hostile. That would help them to drive out the elements of Makwai Tut, who is the Gogdang over there. He's like a prophet. They're against him, so that will give the Agulek to be able to protect the Palestinians, and also the Agulek will be able to prosper from Israel, because Israel would have to help Agulek with military equipment, because South Sudan with army embargo, they have to have another way. There's another way to lure in weapons into the country by accepting these Palestinians, and that's the same way in Nasser, because if the SSPDF are able to benefit, they do need more weapons to drive out the white army, because the white army are well skilled. They do know the area pretty well. So Israel would be able to help them with military equipment to monitor the situation in those areas.
So what's in it then for the South Sudan? Let's say in the term of bilaterals, what really South Sudan get from relocating Palestinian from Israel?
Well, the South Sudan in return will get military equipment, where the Israel will be able to influence the United States to lift the army embargo. Because the main thing is, if Selfa can lift the army, if the United States can lift the army embargo, it will be easy for Salva Kiir to drive out the elements of the SPLA-IO, because his biggest threat now is the SPLA-IO. With the help of Uganda, he's getting a little bit of weapons. Many of the bullets are coming through Uganda. Yeah. And some of the newer weapons, as you can see, some of the Abushuk have new weapons in their hands. So in this case, in return, South Sudan government would be able to have flow of weapons coming in, and the army embargo would not be so much effective. With the citizens, nothing, because this whole thing is not about the citizen benefiting. It's about South Sudan government staying in power.
What will be the reaction of the South Sudanese people in general? Because they have a long story with the Arabs, especially recently with the North. What will be the reactions and the relationship between the newcomers?
The relationship with the locals will be hostile. So far, South Sudan government has seen a negative feedback from South Sudanese due to the fact that South Sudanese do have different values than the Palestinians, given the historical facts of South Sudan being an Islamic state. So this itself kind of gives South Sudanese a flashback of what they were during the liberation, when the Islamic State was more dominant. So at this moment, the locals do not see this as a positive outcome. They see that they will be driven out, and the Palestinian will have upper hand, where they'll be able to establish a religion that does not align with the locals. Because the fact is, the Palestinians do have their own values, and they cannot just yield to the values of the local, because they are coming in as a favor, and they have the government of South Sudan to back them up.
Okay, thank you. Now on the economy side, let's talk about the recent trip of the Benjamin Bolmel to the UAE. The rumors are saying that he has signed a new deal with the UAE to print fresh currency because of the shortage of the cash in the country. In your view, do you think this is the real solution to South Sudanese economy, or is this another band-aid to heal the deeper wound?
Yeah, given the fact Bull Mail has his sanction due to failed management of his businesses and also squandering millions of public funds. He was not the right person to sign this agreement because he lost trust of citizens. Even now, Bull Mill has not paid salary as he promised. It's because he did not tell the South Sudanese that there is a shortage of cash. So many of the South Sudanese get a notification that you're getting paid, but when you go to the central bank is empty. So Bull Mill is not the right person to recover the fragile economy in South Sudan. And the only thing that can help South Sudan recover from this economic crisis is peace and stability. But without peace and stability, there's not going to be anything that will help the economy at all. And because there's so much corruption from the leaders, they're incompetent to be able to draft a system of banking in South Sudan where there's a cash flow, where the South Sudan government does regulate how much cash is going out, and then how much cash is still in the country. Because what caused all of this is that the leaders were taking all their money and banking in other countries, and the citizens, because they don't trust the government, they're keeping their money in their houses. And this has really damaged the economy in the country because there's no flow. There has to be a flow of the cash in the country, and at the same time the inflation is skyrocketing. By printing new notes, it will not help South Sudan at all. And because even if he print them, who knows that Bull Mill will just keep that money in his house and he'll just take it somewhere else. So this is not an ideal process to recover the economy. It is just a mere corruption that they're doing without accountability, because at the moment South Sudan has no system that can hold anybody accountable.
Ambassador Tut Riek Jikany, thank you so much. Now I would love to give you the opportunity to say whatever you want to say to South Sudanese people and our audience in general.
The country is at a state of a failed state, and the leaders in South Sudan have gone as far as selling out the country. As you can see, some of the land in Equatoria has been sold to Uganda. Kenya already have some, the same with Ethiopia. So as citizens, we're in trouble because we're the ones that's going to endure all the pain. None of these leaders are enduring anything. At the moment, the government of South Sudan has become a property. It's a property at the moment where the president is able to appoint anyone he wants, recycle corrupt officials, those that are sanctioned. And we must find a way as citizens to mutually work together and raise the concern of the country. As internationally now, the country is at a state where it's a failed state. It can only serve as a dumping ground for these powerhouses. So if we want this country to move forward, we, the citizens, can no longer depend on these leaders to recover the country. It is only us that can do this by uniting each other and being able to speak with one voice.
Tut Riek Jikany, Ambassador, thank you so much for sharing your insight today. These are tough but necessary conversations, and I believe they bring us closer to understanding where South Sudan stands and where it needs to be. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Babu. I appreciate it.